Hey guys, how are y'all tonight? I'm so excited to start our series 3 of the Build Your Brand series that we're doing right now. The Build series, but tonight is Build Your Brand. So thank you all for hopping on here. Let me shut off this over here on the side. I'm super excited to share this with y'all tonight. So tonight we're talking about build your brand. So far we've done build your beliefs, build your business, and now we're going to dig a little bit deeper into building your brand. So this is something that is, let me turn off my phone volume real fast so it's not dinging through this whole thing. Building your brand is something that's going to go in a little bit more. We talked about attractive marketing last week on our call about how to reach people through Facebook, and building your brand is going to go a little bit deeper into what that is going to look like in branding yourself. So first, let's talk about what is a brand. Like when you hear the term branding and you think of brands, what does that really mean? So think of some major brands like Starbucks or Apple, and you think of coffee and technology, right? But what more do you think of other than just what they sell? I'm sure some of these brands resonate much further with you than just the products that they sell. Like you think of Apple and you might also think quality and convenience, maybe reliable and cutting edge and top of the line product. But these things aren't just said about Apple because Apple decided, I want to be cutting edge and top of the line, and then suddenly they were. They're said about Apple because Apple had to prove themselves to us to earn those brands about themselves. I remember in college, Apple was the worst computer that you didn't want to use in the lab. Everyone went to the PCs first and the Apples were the rejects. So this was something that didn't happen overnight. It took a long time for them to build that reputation and that brand and to earn that in our minds. And now they are one of the top names you think of when you think of, cutting edge and technology. So what is your personal brand and what is it not? So your personal brand isn't necessarily who you think you are. It's who others see you as. So when we talk about branding, I want you to really think hard about how you are presenting yourself, and is it the brand that you want? Your brand also isn't Plexus. Plexus has its own brand. We aren't the brand of the product we are selling, but one very important thing is our brand needs to match up with what we're selling. Branding is something that is needed to build trust and credibility, and it's not necessarily something that is done with people who you know the best. So you don't need to brand yourself to your best friends or to your family because they know you and they know your heart and they know all about you. But it is needed for your audience on social media who don't really know you very well, but they need to trust you in order to buy what you're selling. So this is where we are creating a brand for ourselves. So our audience can see something consistent in us that doesn't change, that they can hold on to and trust, and that gives them comfort in coming to you about their health. So for this call tonight, we're focusing solely on social media because this is where the branding needs to happen. And I'm mainly going to look at the platforms of Facebook and Instagram because these are the two that I use the most and I know the most about. So first, we're going to talk about Facebook. So before you can create or change your personal brand, you need to decide what the top 5 or 6 things are that you want to be known for. What is your ideal brand you'd like to earn? And I'm going to be bossy though, and I'm going to tell you one of those 5 or 6 that has to be part of your brand, and then you get to pick the rest. Since we are selling Plexus, every one of us needs to have health and wellness as part of our personal brand. Now, that might look totally different from one person to the next. For example, my sister is vegetarian and very aware of the foods that she puts in her body and is so passionate about healthy eating and clean eating, and it just exudes about her. If you know her well, you know this. So her health platform is likely going to be focused around her food and the foods she eats and how healthy and clean she eats and how that has been life-changing for her. Where I have always been very into natural medicine and homeopathy, but I love to cook, so limiting food isn't my platform as much as gut health and natural healing is. where someone else might be a fitness instructor. So their big health platform is going to be focused on exercise and how that can help you with your health. So when I'm talking about a health platform, it needs to be more than Plexus. Like when you're branding yourself in health and all of these things we're branding in, this is outside of our Plexus post. This is in addition to. So in addition, you need to make yourself an expert in health and wellness. And I don't want that to scare you or sound intimidating if this isn't something that you're good at, and you might think, I am the most unhealthy person. I know nothing about natural health and wellness. That's okay. The good thing here is with this branding is we're going in this being very authentic and genuine in it, and you can brand yourself as someone who's just starting in this. And you might say, I'm new to health and wellness, but I'm ready to see change in my life. So I'm going to start dedicating myself to learning more about it. So present it in a way that that you're learning along the way, and let your audience know, hey, I'm just starting in this journey. Why don't you come along with me? I'm becoming very passionate about this form of health. And this might take extra time and research for you, but if you build this up, it's also going to just help build that belief in the products for you and help build that belief in the importance of health and wellness and why we're doing what we're doing. So when you're building your brand, though, do not post something that's going to contradict your brand. And this can be hard when we're first starting a health and wellness journey. So since we all have health and wellness as part of our brand, this is an area we have to be very conscientious about, not posting something that is contradictory to health and wellness. So for example, if I drank Coca-Cola, I'm not going to post a big picture of myself with a Coke and be like, I love Coca-Cola, yay Coke. Because everybody knows that Coke is not healthy. You know, I'm not picking on Coke drinkers, but it's not a healthy drink. So it's not going to line up with my brand of health and wellness, which is what I'm trying to brand myself in, so people will want to buy my health and wellness product. Now, this isn't saying to lie to your Facebook audience or deceive people and be somebody that you're not. You can be very real and authentic about this. But if there's a practice that you do right now that's not the healthiest of options, there's no need to shout that from the roofs. You know, I mean, I'm not saying you have to change everything about yourself dramatically. Just make sure you're very consistent in the branding that you're putting out there on Facebook. Because one thing that's important to remember about branding, it's kind of like they tell you with positives and negatives, for every 10 positives, 1 negative ruins it, you know, or however it is. It takes a lot of positives to cover a negative. It's how this is going to be with your brand on Facebook. If you're saying health, 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 and you post something that's very contradictory to that, it's going to take a whole lot to build that reputation back up. So only one post can really hurt your reputation when you're building a brand. So make sure your branding is very consistent and cohesive. So now that we have your first one, health and wellness, we all have that one. And your focal might be different. Everyone's going to have a little different angle in the health and wellness. So don't feel like you have to look just like me or just like somebody else. Just make sure it's there somewhere. It's time for you to decide 4 or 5 other things about yourself that you want to be part of your brand. So I'm going to share with y'all tonight what I kind of came up with 6 things and that I want to be my brand, that I have kind of tried to do as I present myself on Facebook. And I would love to hear your feedback after this, to see if this is what you see me as, to see if I'm doing a good job with the branding that I'm trying to portray. So my first one is health and wellness. And outside of Plexus, I also love yoga and cooking from scratch, although scratch for me isn't necessarily going to be, you know, always the most perfect ingredients. I try to cook from real ingredients. So that's important to me. So for example, I may have posted a cheeseburger and fries a week or so ago, but I compared it to fast food. And I'm like, I'm choosing to make this myself from scratch ingredients instead of fast food as my treat. While I know it's not the healthiest treat, it is still, it's better than the alternative. And so that's kind of what I was putting out there in that post. But that was a very kind of real and vulnerable and not the epitome of health. There is that balance of saying that hey, I'm real, I love cheeseburger and french fries, but you know what, I'm gonna peel my potatoes and make those things myself. So that's kind of an example of how I did that. Another, like I said earlier, big passion of mine is natural healing and homeopathy. And this is an area that I will fully admit that I have not done a good job of branding myself with. I don't know why. I was thinking about this tonight. I don't know why I've kind of kept that part of me to myself, but I've been using homeopathy since I first had kids 12 years ago. And I very, very rarely use any traditional medicine. And so we've had huge success with it. And it's an area that I don't really talk about much, but I should, because this should be part of my branding when I'm talking about natural health. It goes right alongside everything. So that's an area of my branding I need to work on. So my second one is I'm a family girl. I'm a mom of 4 and I'm a wife. So this one's an easy one for me because my family is my world. I'm very happy in this part of my life. So it just comes about natural to share. My third one is I love Jesus. I'm a Christian. So that's another one that you're going to see come up on Facebook. My fourth one is animals. So I love animals. I always have. My household is sometimes a revolving door for different animals. We actually were discussing getting ducks tonight, but I found out it's probably not a wise idea. I have weird obsessions with quirky animals like llamas. So you might see me take a selfie with a llama. Anytime I see one, it's going to happen. Or you might see me invite an entire zoo to my house for my kids' birthdays. If you see that and you know me and I've branded myself, you're like, of course she had a zoo at her house. She's Mickey. So that's my fourth one. My fifth one is just I'm quirky. So I like to make random silly posts and laugh at myself a lot. I can be an airhead. So I try to kind of be lighthearted about that when I do really dingy things to share that on Facebook. And another thing that goes along with my quirky personality is kind of my love of numbers and spreadsheets because, and I always thought this was, I laughed at myself like in college over this too, because I'm not the typical personality that's good with numbers. I'm very much not green on any planet. I'm like the mad scientist that has a mess everywhere around me at all times. So there is that part that plays into that quirky personality of mine. And then my last one I have, and I might have made this a little broad to try to cover in some things, but I just put that I'm fun loving because, and this is the side of me that loves to play. I love to go to concerts. I love to have fun with friends. Friendship is a huge value of mine, which is important to be seen in my branding because I value those relationships. And I love to create and to make things. And I'm going to choose play over work a lot because there's that blue part of me in me. So that's very important about myself. So that's going to be part of my branding on who I am. So now that I've told you my things, if I were to post something that was, say, political, it would probably be very confusing to my audience because I've never once, even in very heated political times, said anything about politics because I am a fun-loving, quirky personality. You know, that's not, I don't like to, ignorance is bliss for me on that stuff. So that's not something I like to really talk about. So if I came out with something, a very heated post, my audience would probably be really confused because it doesn't really align with the brand that I've created. So when you're posting things on Facebook, go through your checklist of the things that you want to be branded as and think to yourself, does this really fit with my brand? And if it doesn't, don't say it. It might be something that you think and you might actually believe it, but if it doesn't fit with your brand, it might kind of rock your audience a little bit and make them lose some trust, and you might go down a few credibility knocks in their book. Another thing, I'm not going to make a rant with curse words because if I'm proclaiming to be a Christian, I might still cuss at home. I might not be perfect, but it's not something I'm going to put out there on social media because it doesn't stick with my brand. In my branding, I'm also very quick to remove things from Facebook if someone messaged me and says they're offended or something I posted was out of character. So some people might think this is my Facebook wall. I can say what I want to. You don't have a right to be offended by my post. And that can sometimes be my reaction when it first happens. But I want you to take into consideration that you're trying to present the best you. And remember, the people that know the real you, they know your heart and your intent, but the majority of your audience doesn't. And sometimes things can be read into wrong. But so if you post something that someone who didn't really know you and they took it offensively, don't argue with them. And that's hard to do. I know there's times I get into it and I want to stand up for myself, and then I realize I need to be humble in this moment and remove this post and privately message this person and let them know I'm sorry. That was not my intent at all. And I removed that because I don't want your feelings to be hurt by what I posted. Now, the rest of your audience is not even going to notice the post is gone. They're just moved on with Facebook and they're looking at other people's posts. But that one person that you remove that for, you're going to build respect in their mind, and you're going to build credibility that their feelings you took into consideration and that matter to them. So we're trying to, like I talked about last week, we're trying to create a place here on Facebook that is like the safe, cozy living room. So people want to be near you and around you. So this is something we have to take other people's feelings into consideration when we're trying to build a brand that people love. It's like customer service. When you call customer service of Amazon, Amazon has my favorite customer service because they always want to make it right. And they take blame even if it's not their fault. You know, and you leave warm and fuzzy and you feel good because even if you did something wrong, they went ahead and covered it and took the blame and took ownership. And so that's how I try to be with my audience too. So remember in branding to always be kind and refreshingly real, transparent, and authentic. This is so important in creating that trust with your audience. So they need to see this real side of you that is kind and just, you know, willing to share some things. So now branding on Instagram, while very similar with Facebook, it has one obvious difference. The focus is largely on pictures and less on words. So on branding on Instagram is the other platform I want to kind of talk about. And I'll be the first to admit I'm new to Instagram. So this is a platform I'm by no means an expert on, and I'm just now starting to try to build up my brand there. So if I say something that seems way out of character with Instagram, just say something on the team page and call me out. So, but Instagram is a picture place. People go to look at pictures. They don't go to hear all your words. So I think at Facebook, I'm showing my audience who I am. And on Instagram, I'm more showing my audience what I like. So it is going to be a little bit different on my branding because my audience on Facebook really gets to know me, while my audience on Instagram just sees pretty pictures of all the things that I love. So for me, health and wellness is still going to be my focus on Instagram, but I love to look at yoga photos on Instagram, and that's kind of something part of my brand that I want to start posting more of too, like improving on my own yoga poses. So I have actually already started to get a pretty decent following from other yogis just by searching through the hashtags of the yoga photos and liking and following all these other yoga people, and then posting a few hashtags of my own when I'm at yoga or doing a yoga pose, and people see that. So I'm creating that branding of yoga. So I like to do yoga. So that's one of my brands. That's kind of the focus of health and wellness. I've kind of taken up more on Instagram because it's easy to post pictures and find pictures in that area. So my family, again, is on Instagram, but I'm much more private here because my profile is public. So I'll still post some photos, but they're not going to get all the details and learn about my family as much. They're just going to see cute photos every now and then. When it comes to the Christian part of my brand, this here would maybe just photos of scriptures or photos of organizations I'm supporting or, you know, missions I'm involved in. So another thing that's different on my Instagram that I've kind of started forming a brand in a little bit that's different from Facebook is more in interior design and pictures of like my remodel and my kitchen and the decorations I like. And I kind of started doing this a little bit more just because I like to look at those photos too. So those are the photos I'm constantly searching for and liking and starting to get followers from. So that's kind of why that has kind of opened up on Instagram. That's not so much on Facebook. And, you know, there's still the animals on Instagram. But for me on Instagram, I might focus a little bit more in on like the breeds of dogs I have. because that's a hashtag you can search for, and people love to post pictures of their dogs. And so I have a Chinese crested, which is a really funny looking dog. So it's fun to look for pictures of Chinese cresteds and see all these funny looking pictures of the dogs, because they all look totally different. Some have lots of hair, some have none, and they're a riot. I just love them. And so I like to follow all these other people with the Chinese crested, and they start following me back when I post pictures of my Chinese crested. So, you know, you build these brands within things that you love and things that you like to look for. On Instagram, make sure you're using hashtags and that you are searching for photos of things that you like to do, and you like to look at, and you like to learn more about. Like, it's really honestly even inspired me to want to practice yoga more, and to want to decorate more, and to want to be more creative. So I like that about the Instagram side of it too. So one thing that I want to warn y'all about, though, don't share everything on both platforms in one post. There are going to be some posts that you make that are perfect for both. Go for it. When you're on Instagram, say share on Facebook, click done. Please do not do that with every single thing that you post on Instagram. If you post something on Instagram and then you post to Facebook, Snapchat, Pinterest, blah, 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 all the different platforms, and every single post, people will pick up on that really quickly. And why would I follow you in 8 different places if every place looks identical? I'm not going to. I'm just going to follow you in one place and unfollow you in all the rest. So this is why you want to kind of give people some different things in different places, so that they keep interest and they keep following you and they see this brand. Of course, your brand wants to mesh between platforms, but you want to give them something interesting in each place. So remember that if you have a post that's going to have a whole lot of words with it, don't even bother to throw it on Instagram. Make sure that one goes on Facebook. But if you have some bright, pretty pictures, put that on Instagram. So remember, your brand is how people see you. It's not necessarily who you are. And this isn't something that's built overnight. Like, it's something that it takes being very intentional, very authentic. But you're definitely in control of this view. So make sure you're always presenting your best, most humble, authentic self on social media. So my challenge for you tonight is, I want to hear what your top 5 or 6 things are that you want for yourself, for your brand to be. And I want to start seeing us as a team start posting things within our brand. And I'm excited to hear what all y'all's ideas are after our call tonight. So I hope that this kind of gave you a little bit more clarity on what a brand is and what this looks like, and how you can use that to attract people to you as you start sharing Plexus also. So have a great night, guys.